Every speaker you watch at KubeCon, at DevOpsDays, at KCDs, you assume they got an invite. Well, they didn't. Almost every single speaker you see at this conference filled out a public form. And the good thing is that that public form is available to you right now. My name is Divine Odazie. I'm a CNCF ambassador, a cloud native engineer, and I've worked with organizations like Ansible, AWS, Atlassian on several developer education projects. And in today's Everything DevOps Career Notes, I'm going to tell you how to speak at this conference. We are going to cover why speaking at these conferences was never invite only, right? We're going to cover how CFPs works and exactly where to find these CFPs. So let's get started. And the first one is you're never going to be invited. So you keep watching people speak at KubeCon, at DevOps Days, at Con42 conferences, platform engineering conferences. I know, like, you must have thought about, oh, they got invited, oh, they work at AWS, a big company, or they work at this company or that, right? Or they have X amount of years of experience. But the thing is that that's not true, because anyone can apply to speak at any conference. And when I mean anyone, I mean regardless of where you're working at a particular point, regardless of your years of experience, regardless of the company you're affiliated to, regardless of where you're from, right? I'm Nigerian and I've spoken at conferences in the United States, I've spoken at conferences in the UK and all over the world, right? So the first thing I want to tell you is to understand that it's possible, and you can do that by using the same form that most of the speakers use, right? By just applying. It's just a public form that anyone can fill, right? And now, for example, Con42 Chaos Engineering Conference form is available now, right? It's open, the call for paper. So in conferences, there's what they call CFP, which is call for paper or call for proposal. So that is the form that you tell a conference organizer, right, or a conference program committee, your idea of what you want to speak about. So Con42 Chaos Engineering is open now for anyone, wherever they are in the world, right, whatever their level is. So long as they have a topic that they have knowledge they can share on, right? So you may be 1 year experience, you may be 10 years experience, you may be 5 years experience. So long as you have experience in that particular topic, that's most important, because just as we've said in our career notes and this video on YouTube, right, and also in the Everything DevOps newsletter, right, years of experience in some cases, in most cases, right, doesn't count, but it's all about what you understand on that particular topics, or better said, right, you can't really know everything, right, and no one knows everything. And like an engineer that's just 2 years of experience may know more about chaos engineering than another engineer that's 15 years of experience working on front-end infrastructure or working on a different kind of system, right? So you see what are the picture I'm trying to create for you, right? So let's say now I've said all this, you have an idea of like it's possible to speak at conferences, and you know that you can speak at conferences regardless of your experience and where you're from. But then again, there are two major things that hinder people from speaking at conferences. So these two major things are, one, you don't know where to find the opportunities, right? Like now I've mentioned Chaos Engineering 2026 is available, right? But where can you find the link? Where can you find the form? So now your next one is, oh, you found the conference, you're excited about it, you wrote the speaker proposal, right? The CFP, the call for paper, you applied and you were rejected. Then you gave up. So both of these are fixable this week, right now. For the first one, right, I'm going to put down on the description links to where you can find conferences happening all over the world, right, no matter where you are, and the link to apply on the form and learn more about the conference. But for the second one, right, it's not just as easy as clicking the link, right, or Googling. It's all about understanding how life works. And when I mean life works, right, I want to give you a scenario. For example, if you look back, most people, I don't want to throw out the number, but if I want to be cliche and throw out the number, let's say 99.9% of people apply for so many jobs before they get that one dream job or before they get their first job. I was the same, right? And you might be the same, and you may know other people that have applied for several jobs, 5 a day, 10 a week, 20 a month, right, before they got their main job. So it's the same logic that applies to CFPs, right? You don't expect to just get accepted at your first trial. And I've seen some people get lucky to be accepted in first trial, right? But 99.9% of the time, you have to apply to several talks, right? Several conferences before you get accepted. And now, aside from just getting accepted into one, in order to speak at multiple, like I have done, I've spoken at KubeCon, I've spoken at DevOpsDays in Houston, KubeCons in the US, KubeCons in London. I've spoken at several developer meetups, right, and smaller events. In order to get there, the thing is that you have to try multiple times, right? And as you can see here, you can see several rejections that I've had just last year. And this is me being rejected after having spoken at so many conferences all over the world. So imagine if you're starting to speak at you're looking to speak at your very first conference, you don't expect to be accepted into all of them, right? But the good thing is that a lot of conferences, they encourage first-time speakers, because first-time speakers, right, have unique perspective that regular speakers don't have, right? And first-time speakers are the people that bring some knowledge that are not easily shared and not hidden, because like I mentioned earlier, no one knows everything. So I'm saying this to encourage you that, like, even if you haven't spoken at a meetup before, you haven't spoken at even a company meeting, right, your chances of being accepted in a conference is very, very high, especially as a first-time speaker, especially as someone that has niche experience and niche knowledge in a particular subject matter, right? So if I can be rejected, again, you can see the amount of rejections I just had last year, right? And several others. I can show you my sessionized rejections, right, on the screen, and so many other rejections I've gotten beyond just sessionized and other conferences and all that, right? So it's possible, but understand that it's not just one conference, one talk, but you have to keep iterating and keep trying, right? And just as you do when looking for a job, just as you do when looking for let's say a visa, right? If you're someone that needs visa, it's not every time you get accepted. Or just as you do where, like, someone that is trying to get a mortgage, right, or trying to get a credit system or something about, right, you increase the amount of yes you get, right, with the amount of no's you get. I don't know, that may sound cliche, but the amount of times you try, you increase the success you can get. So as much as I want you and I will encourage you to apply for big conferences, right, apply to speak at the likes of KubeCon, DevOpsDays, I can also tell you something, and I will tell you something which I did, and it's a strategy I called the 3-room climb, right? So the 3-room climb is basically you start from meetups and work your way onto larger conferences. So let me explain this more in depth, right? So yes, a lot of conferences encourage first-time speakers. They encourage people from diverse backgrounds. They encourage international speakers, right? But in order to get there's something quick wins, right? One quick wins also to get into the habit of writing CFPs. I will encourage you to start from meetups. So local meetups around your city, around your country, and also you can go on meetup.com. That's an aggregator. You can find a lot of meetups like that. Or you can just make a tweet if you're on Twitter, make a LinkedIn post asking your community, oh, is there any event that's happening around? I would like to speak. Or you may know someone. I know, like, definitely you watching this, you know someone that has given a talk in a meetup, or you name a meetup that's happening around. So start with a meetup if you're a first-time speaker. That would be my advice, right? From the 3-room climb strategy. Start from a meetup. So when you get in a habit of speaking at meetups, right? Let's say you speak at 3 or 4 meetups. Then next you can start targeting virtual conferences. There are several virtual conferences all over the world, right? In several languages. I'm speaking in English. You may be an English native speaker, or it may be your second language, just like it is for me, or a third language, right? There are several virtual conferences and meetups like that all over the world, right? One I've spoken at and I love and I'm proud of what Miko and Mark are doing, right, is Con42. So Con42 Chaos Engineering is happening this year, right? And the CFP is open till November. So that is the virtual conference, and if you have experience in chaos engineering, you can apply for that, right? And that can help you get started speaking at conferences. So when you speak at like 1 or 2 virtual conferences, same pattern, then you can move up to more regular conferences, bigger conferences with rooms of like hundreds to 1,000 people, right? And when you're applying for those ones, you can put samples of those past conferences meetups and events that you've done in the past, the virtual events, the meetups, pictures, and you can put that in your CFP, right, in your call for proposal. That shows your level of experience in the topic and also your level of experience in presenting. Because to be honest, presenting is a skill. I've spoken at like a lot of conferences all over the world, but I always still get nervous. And I remember when I was having a conversation with a friend, right, and she said that, oh, it's normal, right? No matter how often you speak, you still get nervous. So those examples shows like a conference speaker that you have done this, a conference organizer or a program committee, and you've done this before, right? And you can deliver technical presentations in a way that an audience will understand. So I would implore you to use this 3-room climb strategy, right? So implement that. Give yourself like, let's say, 6 months to go from meetups to bigger conferences, right? And if you do 2 meetups in 2 months, right, and then you work your way up into a bigger conference. And if you have any question about this, you can drop a question in the comments. I always look at the comments. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn or via the newsletter, reply any of the mails, and I can answer any of your specific question. And that's how like I will encourage like to get started on conferences, right? Now you know the possibility with conferences. I would say, right, a meetup talk is more important than a KubeCon rejection. So think more about this 3-room climb strategy and apply it, and you see how you can go from not spoken at any events or meetups or meetings before to speaking at the biggest conferences like KubeCon in the cloud native space. So the next thing I know you're asking, right, which I've mentioned, right, is where can you find these conferences? So I've mentioned meetup.com, right? I've mentioned paper call. So you can also find these conferences on Sessionize. You can also check out conference series. So for example, the Linux Foundation have it in event website. You can check the description below. I'll link to them. So you can check the Linux Foundation events website. You can check the KubeCon website and follow each series, right? You can also see them on social media, on hashtags all over Twitter, LinkedIn. You can search this conference name and all. And there's also the Con42 virtual conference series. It's the SRE Day conference series. And so all these are places, right? And you can see them on the screen. Places you can find conferences that are happening. And also then apart from like these specific niche places, there are aggregators like developer events, right? Still in the description. So check out developer event aggregator. And when you check out this aggregator, there's something I want to share with you, right? And it's something that a lot of people don't know, is that CFPs open with little to no fanfare, right? Because these are technical conferences, and in most cases, the fact that the CFP is open is shared maybe 1 or 2 times, because most times conference organizers are, like say, they are overwhelmed with a lot of talk submissions. And then apart from it not being open with little to no fanfare, there is also like a time box time. Let's say a month or 3 weeks for you to submit a CFP. Some bigger conferences have long time, right? So it's important that when you see a CFP is open, so what I will encourage you, right, which is your action item. So this is your action item after watching this video. So go to an aggregator, right? Go to the aggregator, find a CFP that you would like to submit, a conference you would like to speak out. Then the next step is much more important than finding it. Go to your calendar and set a reminder. Set a deadline for the CFP. So when you set that reminder, that deadline, right, you see that like, let's say you add like, it should remind you 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the deadline for the CFP. Then with that reminder, you can take your time to craft a conference proposal, which we'll talk about in this series. And whenever you're watching this video, you can check the career notes playlist and you see an in-depth guide on how to write CFPs, right, and create CFPs, and also several resources that we've created at Everything DevOps. So set that reminder, create your CFP, and apply. If you get rejected, no worries, apply again. So all these are skills and techniques and principles, right, that I've applied to speak at getting to 100 conferences over the past 9 years of my career, right, in tech. So thank you very much for watching today's video, and see you in the next one. Click here to watch more videos from Everything DevOps. Cheers.